Good evening and welcome to Undaunted Weekly Recap. I am Star Smart.
And I am Onyi Okbala. Remember that the Undaunted Weekly Recap is for you to participate and get in tune with all of the news stories that you may have missed during the week. We are here to emphasize on our major news highlights. Well, we'll go on this break, and when we come back, we'll bring you the recap in full.
The media greatly influences society. They inform people about what is happening. It permeates people's lives by creating their own criteria and opinions. In this way, the media moves the masses, creating different social movements.
For over 60 years, the people of Amazonia were deprived of such privileges. The privilege to enhance their own criteria and opinion. They have suffered cultural genocide for 6 long decades, but not in this age and not with Undaunted ABC Amber News on board.
You must understand that wars are fought and won in the media. The speed of the revolution on Ambazonia's quest for freedom cannot be explained without highlighting the diligent use of the media.
Franco-Cameroon colonizers, among other strategic moves, weaponized the media against Ambazonia for so long, and they continue to do so even today. The question would be, how much do the oppressed people of Ambazonia need to counter the media rage?
Indeed, how much more is required to stop the genocide? The carnage in Ambazonia didn't start today. In 1961, 1972, 1984, 1992, Ambazonians were slaughtered in huge numbers and help was not forthcoming. Why? Because the oppressor was the piper in the media.
The good news is we have what it takes to dictate the pace.
Right now, ABC Amber TV is taking advantage of the wonders of multimedia aggressively
to inform the misinformed and disinformed with Undaunted and other revolutionary programs bringing it to the news untold stories.
Most importantly, to win the media war by taking ABC Amber TV into every multimedia platform.
In a word, where the importance of storytelling can never be overemphasized, Ambazonians has to tell her own story, not the other way round.
And like we say it always, Ambazonia must narrate her story accurately. We can do this together, you know, right? You are just a click away. Visit our website at www.abcambertv.com, and the steps are quite simple.
With just a click on the website, you can become a club member with so many benefits.
You can also make a one-time donation, advertise and showcase your goods and services at the marketplace on the website.
That was easy, right? You're welcome on board.
And thank you for opting for the winning team.
You're welcome back. Well, this week on Undaunted, we started the news with the Unity Palace Warriors propaganda machine of Shea Tatawo's Candy, where he presented the video of two warriors who had reportedly escaped from Kikaikum and were heading back to Ungokentuja. The two fighters are said to be mission commander Satan Blue T-shirt and a fellow soldier. Both fighters had escaped from the torture of No PT and joined the Buyu Warriors under the reign of FM Subu. May he so rest in peace that since 2020. After their arrest and interrogation by the Unity Palace Warrior, they were forced on the jurors to say bad things about Major General Talk and Do and the main Buyu Warriors barracks at Kikaikum.
Now, we also told you on the 1st of November, Bangam District Hospital, Kupemwan and Guba County, KMC, Southern Region has detected 3 cases of monkeypox virus. They include a 20-year and 23 years old male and a 4-year-old female. The district medical officer, DMO, for Bangam Health District, Dr. Nkeng Fubella disclosed that they have collected samples from the patients and sent to Center Pasteur Yaoundé for confirmation. He stated that the 3 suspected cases are all recovering on symptomatic treatment in the hospital.
All right, also this week we informed you that billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk is taking Twitter private in a deal valued at $43 billion, lambasting company management and saying he's the person who can unlock the extraordinary potential of a communication platform used daily by more than 200 million people. The world richest person said he will pay 54.2% share in cash, 38% above the price in April, the last trading day after Musk went public with his stake.
Also this week, we brought to you that what Undaunted gathered, and it's unacceptable that in southern Cameroon's Amazonia, the use of the colors blue and white is now criminal. Blue and white are the colors of the flag of Amazonia. To the thugs of La Republic du Cameroon in southern Cameroon's Amazonia, manipulating the color blue and white means you are an enemy to La Republic du Cameroon and an ally to the Amazonian Restoration Forces. Now, a fan of Chelsea Football Club has been arrested by La Republic du Cameroon's colonial military and is now in prison for having in his possession the colors of his favorite club. As you can see, blue and white. He is a fan of the Chelsea club, which also has the blue and white for their club. And this is just an indication and the proof of how southern Cameroon's Amazonia are suffering in the hands of the thugs of La Republic du Cameroon deployed in Amazonia.
All right, we gave you a reminder that for several weeks in the past October, there was acute shortage of gas, cooking gas in southern Cameroon's Amazonia. With the shortage in the supply of cooking gas lately, there was a hike in price to the tune of 15,000 francs CFA from the normal 8,000 francs CFA in Bamenda. The scarcity is now but history, but the price of these necessary commodity for household users is maintained at 10,000 francs CFA, making it difficult for the common one who depends on it for cooking. Now, this is not the case with La Republic du Cameroon, where this gas has been regulated at 6,500 francs CFA. Now, this week on Undaunted, we also had Kanye West, where he said that the red media is a problem of the black man.
Yes, truly, Kanye West was also in our story this week, and he has said that the number one cause of death for black people in America is abortion. The most dangerous place for a black man or woman has become their mother's womb. And this is a programming that has been pushed through by what he calls the red media. Now, on his term red media, he showed the chart that has a long list of very popular companies with Jews being executives in them. Take a look at the video.
The red are the executives that are Jewish at these companies. The number one cause of death for black people in America is abortion. The most dangerous place for a black man today, or black baby, black woman, is in their mother's stomach. And that is a programming that's pushed through, I got a new word for 2024, the red media. That is the red media. If you go to Apple right now, go to Apple Music. Let's load up the top 10 songs. I guarantee you they're promoting black serial killing.
Absolutely.
Not just one. They're promoting black. The red media is making money off of blacks being serial killers to each.
All right, also this week, Colonial Governor of Far North Region of La Republic du Cameroon promised sanctions for civil servants fleeing insecurity. The colonial military of La Republic du Cameroon at the Far North region, unable to protect the people and their properties. The colonial government, on its part, is not honest to her citizens and Ambazonians in that area to tell them not to depend totally on government protection. Now, due to threats from the Islamic group Boko Haram, more civil servants, Ambazonia and Cameroonides, for fear of their lives, have abandoned their duty posts to safer region. As is always the case with every colonial administrator of La Republique du Cameroon, instead of stepping up the security of persons and properties, the colonial governor is rather dishing out threats to these workers to come back or be sanctioned.
There you have it. And we also looked at Indian indigenes. We took a look at Indian indigenes who were worried with the high-handedness of La Republique du Cameroon as it concerns the oil in India. Represented by an elite group of traditional rulers, mayors, religious leaders, and members of parliament, met with members of the La Republique du Cameroon's National Hydrocarbon Corporations, SNH, and Total and ADAX, that had been exploring oil in the Rio del Ray Basin, in which Indian County is found, and also the colonial administration of Indian. The locals and the oil companies were aimed at working out strategies and finding a system and forming a partnership in which wealth derived from the oil is better shared, not only more broadly within the population, but with future generations to alleviate poverty and misery in Indian County, since it has deposits of crude oil contributing up to 75% total oil production in the whole country.
All right, so apart from Ambazonia's oil, fertile soil is another God's gift to southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia can be transformed only with income generated from the farms. The major hindrance to an agricultural revolution in southern Cameroon's Ambazonia is bad roads. Now, there is an indicator for a better developed southern Cameroon's Ambazonia tomorrow, now thanks to the fertile soil. Now, the soil of southern Cameroon produces all types of crops, plants, staples, and fruits. The fertile segregates on what must be cultivated. Different crops do well in different zones in southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. Now, the Republic of Ambazonia is the bread basket of neighboring La Republique du Cameroon and countries of the Central Africa sub-region. Now, here is a video of another bountiful harvest.
Bangap never being man a charanen and a zoni. Ye ini near to ngam November. Ene me ni me ingamg yes rejigitene mangamg fakab bamanenga sieni ay zumbo kumwini berker ay kambe berachon woni kumna masachu renyoini ay matuambing zumbo bichi tono no magana ay matuambing ay mbichina mba jura singana atuambing ay anga ana neni gana zanan benen be yazu sugni gana anan jiyana kay tuku neni chiranga ne rejik burjokuna bamanni kang neng baga zumbo bi yimeni zum olo tubu wondong na kawo e shawo tubu wondong gap ene madam jo fo mbang o yimi ke boni ni akaba aga ay pa jo wo bayure yimi zo mbakere ngap tere urso bazu nire aha fang pa kui wonderful miaka weno beneng wonderful bermbo pa Kumba kang ning chin bi yimi kebo. Ezo mo magani ina yembo adi za fertilizer ange. Bati amina shika be manyo magaza. Wonderful ne si zoro tuombe nga yesi chom. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Mi akava. Hey madam di chawo mazenio. Baze yi bagaringam ge. Babe ani shi ber baga wembe ke baze yi baga ozo chino wembe. Mi aka. Wonderful. Aya ba gare wo. Mama zozo zon yimi kebo. Babi bi kono kwa ya matuombe bi. Ke kambe chin bukonde. Bezo ka tuombe ngo. Azo ye ngwer baga. Tira so. Te mita ambimbo. Ngwer baga mbazo shi ja. Mi akava. Madame Django. Alias Potter. Miako. Voila.
All right, moving on. Moja, who has been given the mandate by colonial ruler Paul Biya of La Republic de Cameroon to kill southern Cameroonians, threats death. Now, the traditional ruler of Boassa village, Ewume John Echo, also known as Moja, an element of the colonial bees elite force, says El Haj Baba Amadou Dampolo is after his life. He made this revolution in a video that is making rounds on social media. Now, let's take a look.
Greetings to everyone. Salut à tout le monde. I want to tell the whole world that the Isu people who came to my village, they are not Ambazonians. After my findings, I realized Alaji Dampolo have problem in Isu land. And suddenly the son of Isu and wife were killed brutally. They were slaughtered by unknown gunmen. And now finally, the chief of Boassa, Moja, also have a problem with Alaji in a land around Tole Estate, sharing boundary with Boassa village. He was here this October, few days ago, where he said he cannot surrender that land. And now the Isu guys are already invading my palace. So I want to believe they were sent by the same Alaji. Yes, so I'm calling on the government and the international community to see into it. I'll send video relating to how they killed the fawn of Isu and how comes drastically now the Isu people are ready. So not the Isu people, those who were paid maybe to kill the fawn of Isu are already coming to murder the chief of Boassa. But I want to tell them that it's not going to be easy with me. Yes. That's what I'm saying. I've handed them to the law officials and I want the law to take its course.
Now, on to the other story we treated this week. The Presbyterian Church in Cameroon, PCC, got in the news on a negative note, this time in the colonial economic capital of La Republique du Cameroon. The routine political landscape of La Republique du Cameroon is gradually and surely penetrating the church circle. Christians of a Presbyterian church in Cameroon are divided to the point of fighting in church whether their pastor should stay or go. The pastor is now hospitalized as a result of the fight.
All right, so amongst many evils happening in Ambazonia, it would have been reported on Thursday, the 3rd of November 2022, that an adult male raped a young girl. If not for the timely intervention of farmers in Bukwando Boya, before the arrival of the rescue team, this criminal was already strangling his victim by the neck in an attempt to stop her from screaming. The population, not to exercise mob justice, decided to carry this predator to the traditional ruler of Bukwango village. The chief of Bukwango asked the population to flog the spirit of rape out of him, but on condition that the beating should be concentrated on his buttocks. The buttocks, because according to the chief, is the area where the strength to rape is generated from. Now, let's take a look.
No.
Population was still people.
All right, and that's all we have for you today on our weekly recap. But we have fresh stories that we must give to you. Now, that's all we have for you for our weekly recap. But we have fresh stories that you must listen to after this break.
We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best.
All right, you're welcome back. And straight to our news stories for this week. Now, it's been recorded that nobody is safe anymore in southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. Now, one might be tempted to believe that there is a hole where the colonial La Republic du Cameroon military do fetch bullets from. Because you would wonder, the random spraying of bullets with indiscriminate shooting can attest to this. In a situation and location in southern Cameroon, the presence of the colonial La Republic du Cameroon is announced, but with gunshots. Now, the so-called forces of law and order deployed in southern Cameroon do use gunshots to stop and control urban cabs, even commercial motorbikes. Kindergarten pupils in southern Cameroon all know the sound of a gun. The colonial La Republic du Cameroon military keep polluting the air with numerous gunshots. Now, these bullets being wasted on a daily basis are purchased with taxpayers' money, and now instead of giving them some good roads, they are used to traumatize the same people paying for them. Now, are these bullets on promo? Is one question we are asking. Is La Republic to Cameroon buying them or are they producing them?
Well, a dynamic southern Cameroonian full of energy and ambitions has bowed down to stray bullets with an exchange between Amber fighters and La République du Cameroon military in Boya. Cum Gilbert up on Thursday, November 3rd, 2022, like any person with a lot of energy to put his abilities to let ends meet. But unfortunately for him, he never finished the day. He died in the later hours of the day to a stray bullet. In a crossfire between Amazonian fighters and the colonial La République du Cameroon military, Cum Gilbert was the unfortunate creature at the wrong place and the wrong time. Such exchanges are a normal occurrence between these two camps, and any time an opponent falls from the bullets of one camp, it is victory. Such victory is always captured through videos that the victor drops, displaying the spoil. Whenever La République du Cameroon military suffers casualties in the hands of the Amazonian fighters, they often manifest their disappointment on innocent southern Cameroon Amazonians. Now, like the case of this farmer in Bangui killed in her farm by La République du Cameroon military shooting at random from a fruitless attack against the Amazonian liberation fighters, Cum Gilbert is just another Southern Cameroonian sent to an early grave either as a result of targeted killings or from random shootings. What is left with the unsolvable family of fallen Cum Gilbert is to lay their son and brother to rest. Here is a video.
Quite sad. Also, early this week, we brought you a story about a young man who is passionate with the blue and white colors, but unfortunately, he's in the Bamenda prison. Now, we brought you the story this week that La République du Cameroon colonial regime, Wix's Chelsea fan to Bamenda prison, accused him of having sympathy for the Amazonian struggle. Now, this unpopular decision was arrived at last week by the colonial brigadier commander for Ndu local government area for lack of convincing evidence, saying, in quote, only Yaoundé can order the release of the Chelsea fan. Now, Undaunted can now report that hopes for the release of the die-hard Chelsea fan Israel Gio, a young man wrongfully arrested in Ndu local government area, Donga Mantun County, some weeks ago by security officers, are bleak. News reaching Undaunted has it that the Colonial La République du Cameroon Gendarmerie Brigade commander for Ndu is adamant that only Yaoundé can order the young man's release. Now, the story goes that Israel Gio, a mobile money operator in Ndu local government area, was arrested and detained by La République du Cameroon Colonial Security Forces, who allegedly accused him of working with separatists abroad by receiving money in Ambazonia. Now, the occupier forces also accused him of supporting the sympathizing with the Ambazonia liberation struggle, owing to his passion for the blue and white colors he uses to decorate his house, since the blue and white colors are those of the Ambazonian flag.
Now, this narrative goes that on Tuesday, October 4th, around 1 p.m., he was intercepted by the enemy La République du Cameroon security forces while returning from the market, who took his ID card and phone before searching his house and finding nothing concrete to buttress their allegation. They took him to the brigade where he was held for days and then transferred to the Bamenda prison. A close family source made it clear to Undaunted that the young, innocent Israel Gio is being held at the Bamenda Central Prison after making about 3 weeks under detention in Ndu before he's transferred to Bamenda last week. Undaunted equally gathered that Israel's family has been left in great distress and uncertainty since his arrest, given that he is the breadwinner of the family and his wife is unconsolable, too heavily pregnant and at the verge of giving birth. The situation is expected to get worse as she will put to birth in a few days and would need all the support she can get from her partner.
Now, Israel's current predicament is not the first, nor would it be the last. Samuel Wazizi, a journalist who finally died in detention, was picked in similar circumstances in Boyar, and that has been the plight of many innocent and vulnerable Ambazonian youth in the cruel hands of the colonial La République du Cameroon forces since the war broke out in 2017. Many have been missing uncounted, for his desire to stay back and develop his home has made him one of the thousands of victims of the armed conflict now languishing behind bars. Now, if Yaoundé does not call, there is nothing we can do, the local colonial security authorities told Israel's close family members.
Wow. Israel's case is not the first. All Amazonians captured by La République du Cameroon's colonial forces in the 6-year war have been ferried to Yaoundé, the colonial capital, where truncated and trumped up charges. They were truncated and trumped up charges and are meted out in the kangaroo military tribunals as if there are no courts in Amazonia. The decision to detain Israel Gio without due process was taken locally without consultation with Yaoundé, but the local authorities now claim that Yaoundé must be involved in providing a solution. Reason why Amazonia must fight till the last man standing to break the yoke of colonial enslavement by genocidal La République du Cameroon. This is a complex relationship that has been at the heart of the Amazonian War and continues to fuel the conflict and multiply the injustices meted out of the innocent people, the peace-loving people of Amazonia, only fighting to restore their fundamental rights, being trampled upon by La République du Cameroon for 61 years. Enough is enough.
And this is a breaking news. According to confirmed report info, it says that House Slave Colonial Minister Paul Tazang has been sacked. Now, the Midland population of Ambazonia salutes Minister Paul Tazang Sakin as reconstruction plan head. The population of Bamenda in the restive Midland zone of southern Cameroon, where the Ambazonia Restoration Forces are fighting to ensure the restored independence of Ambazonia is actualized, have celebrated the sacking of head of the presidential plan for the development and reconstruction PPRD of what they call the two restive regions, Paul Tazang. Their decision to replace him with Motuba Tamanjong was made taken by House Slave Prime Minister Dion Ngute on November 4th, 2022.
Now, one of those who received the news of the sacking of Port Song in Nde Waters, who says it's Nde Waters, he says this man insulted us last time when he said if we want to see the tiring of the ring road, we should first of all stand like one man and say no to insecurity. He failed to tell us whether insecurity can also be blamed for a project that was announced in the 80s, says Nde. Such people, he adds, talks to please their God, Paul Biya. Thanks to Almighty God, he has been dropped. This is what Indy had to say. Never right man for position. So Anwi, a diehard supporter of the Social Democratic Front, SDF, political party, Paul Tassang was never the right person for that position. He says, how can you bring in someone who has the mentality that it is development that is a pathway to peace and not peace being a pathway to development? He failed on the day he was appointed. They always want to bring in politics everywhere. The Guardian Post newspaper is in one of its headlines said John Ngute disagreed with Tassang on the impact of the Anglophone crisis on the tea sector, an indication that he was never fit for the job. Now, there are those who still believe that the presidential plan for the development and reconstruction PPRD of what they call the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon, which is actually Ambazonia, will not get its desired goals because the war is ongoing and beneficiaries to the project continue to die on a daily basis.
Right, so it should be noted that the presidential plan for the development and reconstruction PPRD saw the light of the day some years back to develop the war-ravaged southern Cameroon's Amazonia, where lives and properties have been damaged as a result of the ongoing genocide. Many say they are yet to feel the impact because the crisis keeps worsening and changing levels as the day goes by. Besides all the side talks, so it is now confirmed that Paul Tassang has been sacked as national coordinator of the La République du Cameroon presidential plan for reconstruction and development. The actual reason for his removal from office is not known despite claims by Paul Tassang that the construction agenda was on course.
Now, in 2020, Paul Tassang claimed that the people from his area, Lebialem, were still in the bushes because it was part of their culture to stay in bushes. Ashuka says this. Our intelligence has it that Paul Tassang has failed to deliver even after the supposed disappearance of FM of Lebialem. On Monday, we will expand more as the news develops.
All right, and thank you.
We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa. With untold stories, Africa's best.
All right, thank you so much for being part of the Undaunted Weekly Recap. All right, we have an interview section right about now. Let's join it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Anye, for this for the important news briefings that we've had. I just noticed that Barrister Fro has joined us at the accurate time. You are welcome, sir, to be a
Thank you
part
very
of
much,
this
Mate.
discussion. Yeah, we were looking
Thank
forward
you.
to having you, and
Thank
it's
you, Pade. I
important.
didn't even know that. I didn't even know that I was on today. I just flipped through my phone
You
and
know,
I saw it.
Yes, we tried.
Good evening, everyone.
I tried to make it a tradition since I realized that Barrister Tim seems to be more disposed than you are. So I take the opportunity so that when we come and put the minds together on Saturday, let's try to make it a little bit mandatory. I'm happy that you proactively joined in spite of the brief notice. We've just gone through the reports for the week and for the recap to refresh our minds. And
Okay.
we have ended at the level of this house slave Porter song confirmed sacked. Lots of side stories. Mimi Mefo is saying that the people felt he was not a good leader. Many stories. But then I want to ask the question: how many leaders do Cameroon employ that are good? Is Paul Atanganji a competent leader per se? They have an agenda, and so whoever is willing to carry on that agenda, that is not necessarily for development. You just heard in the report a minister that is supposed to be there to enhance the population tells them that development should bring peace instead of the other way around. So this is where I think we should start the discussion, and then we will have to break down into other aspects of our talk for today to enhance. But you're welcome, gentlemen. Greetings to you.
Thank you.
Master Tim, good evening and welcome.
Thank you for having us. We are ready to help you and to help the people understand what it is all about.
Yeah. Okay, so you just heard this. You heard it for yourself. I cannot belabor the point any further. What do you think about that songs? Well, there's a school of thought that says that even though FMA disappeared, which was his calculation and part of his mission, Yaoundé seemingly is not satisfied, and so Dion Gute is under pressure to provide results, and so he's just grappling here and there. Let's take the discussion from any direction. Vice Team, please take the floor.
Well, for me personally, I think the sacking or the non-sacking of Tasson is irrelevant to us. I think personally, we don't have anything personal with Paul Tasson or whoever sits in that office. We have something against the so-called reconstruction and whatever thing they call it. So whether they put me or
So,
you or
and
them,
that's where the clause of him comes in.
yes. So whether they put you, Paddy, or me, or Mr. So, or any other body, or even a francophone, our opposition remains the same. But the problem that we face, even within our own camp, as Ambazonians, is that the majority of us don't seem to understand what that office is meant to do. It is called reconstruction. I heard somebody talking about the ring road. The ring road has never existed. They are not coming to construct a ring road. If there was no ring road that was destroyed, they have nothing to reconstruct. And so what is it in the package is what is important. The timing, all that comes to issue when to do it, when not to do it. But the content of the package of reconstruction is what is at stake. Again, let us go back to Mr. Paul Tasson, and I see the hated son of the BLM Act. Yes, let us even take it from his own angle. He's from the BLM. What is reconstruction coming to reconstruct in the BLM? I didn't talk about road, let's take on the ring road. There is no government-sponsored road in the whole of the BLM since 1960. The footpaths that we have there are the people's hand constructed roads. So they have nothing to reconstruct there because they have never constructed a road. In the whole of the BLM, like most other parts of Cameroon, but the BLM, for example, they have no government water supply. All the water that they have there is community-based, handmade, So government has nothing to reconstruct, even in terms of putting water points there. If they had anything to reconstruct, if it had to have any meaning, they would have been reconstructing people's houses they destroyed. But the reconstruction program under Mr. Tasson or whoever is in charge of that office does not envisage, contemplate reconstructing people's homes. I had the opportunity to state this before. Reconstruction after war takes different shapes. If they were to reconstruct people's homes, what are they going to reconstruct? We, for example, in different parts of Ambazonia, we come from different homes, some with 5 children, some with 5 wives, some with 1 wife. Are they going to construct one room house for everybody, including those of us who have 5 wives and 3 children? No. A reconstruction after war starts with the inventory of what they have to construct. If they were to go to a particular village, for example, in Batibo, it should be an inventory of the people whose houses were destroyed. What is their status? How many wives does each have? How many children do each have? That will give them the basis for constructing 3-room house, 5-room house, 1-room house, based on the on the size of the family. Once they have the inventory, they have to go further by mapping out the land, because they are not going to reconstruct in the way that the villagers did before. They will now construct a new village, at least with the road passing there, with provision for water to be put, public taps. But that is not what Cameroon reconstruction means. So we have not understood it, and people fall on it. They are not coming to construct what they did not. It's not a development agency. It's a reconstruction agency, reconstructing what they destroyed. If something did not exist that was destroyed by them, they cannot reconstruct what did not exist. Again, they did not have a ring road, so they cannot reconstruct a ring road. If they want to go and dig a ring road, that's fine. That's not being dug, not being reconstructed because none existed before.
No, but I think one thing that is striking in whatever is happening is that as a justification, Potterson accuses the population of being the cause of underdevelopment. That's really striking. Barrister Fu, what do you have to say about that?
Look, Paddy, I am very surprised that we're giving this topic this importance by talking about it. This is a scheme that La Republic put together 1 or 2 years ago to defraud money from the international community and got their so-called partners to contribute money for them to finance the war. There had never been anything like reconstruction. You only do reconstruction after war. I want to ask the question, is the war over? What are they talking about?
Now,
Collected
I'm
money.
coming back because this is the question you asked is exactly why I brought up the discussion, so that it's all about education and re-education. Is the war over? What could actually be the scheme? You're giving one of the reasons, which is defrauding or stealing from the international community. We know Bia is always good in that, forcing himself into the Boko Haram up north because he wants subvention, talking about climate change when he has more critical problems in his home country. And all of that is part of his modus operandi for decades, begging
Listen,
money
Paddy.
from the World Bank and all of that. But this is what we have to look critically. What was
Yes,
Yaoundé thinking? What were they hoping to achieve by creating this whole core reconstruction
the
debacle?
idea was to deceive the international community that the war was over and they needed to reconstruct what they called Norwest and Southwest, which is Ambazonia. And it was a scheme put together to finance their war. It was never meant to reconstruct anything. And let me tell you what has happened. I read that there is Diongote held a cabinet meeting where they have put on the budget of 2023 to reconstruct areas of the Northwest and Southwest, according to them, that has been destroyed. Listen, Paddy, this whole scheme about reconstruction, that they collected money all over the place from international community, from among themselves or whoever among the enablers that are with them, was intended to finance the war. It wasn't intended to reconstruct anything. And since they have been faced with this dilemma that the war is not over and nothing is going on, they will come and tell you that Paul Tasson has been sacked. What importance is that to us? We know that that scheme was meant to defraud the international community, to finance the war, and they took that money and financed the war. And now they have carefully put something in the budget, the so-called proposed budget for 2023, to reconstruct those areas of what they call the Northwest and Southwest that were destroyed. So I beg to ask the question: the reconstruction was for what when the war was still on? Where in the world did you see them carrying out the project of reconstruction? What has happened to all that money that they collected from their partners from all over the world? Where is that money? That money was meant to finance the war. It is even rumored that people like Paul Tasson and his clique embezzle some of it. So what? That's not our business. The fraud is not by even the international community. Even the diplomats in Yaoundé know that that was a well-calculated fraud to defraud the international community to get money to continue to finance the war in Ambazonia. I don't see how his sacking or his non-sacking has to do with us. We have denounced that thing long ago. That is a fraudulent activity that was meant to raise money to finance the war. So La Republic is playing a game, go here, we are putting it in the budget of 2023, and then come again and say we have sacked Paul Tasson, and so on and so on. Paul Tasson has done the work of collecting the money for them to finance the war.
Now, you see, there are two schools of our people that are kind of rejoicing, and it gives us a clue on what the impact of this is to them. First of all, you have SDF party members in the so-called Bamenda and rejoicing.
Forget that.
No, let me come, please. I'm developing it in a way that we can progress in this discussion. They are rejoicing that he has been moved, meaning that we all know they are partners in crime, meaning that in the camp of the enemy, there has not been full agreement. Now, the Amazonians receiving this news today have expressed a lot of excitement, probably because it was alleged that Tasson and Chris Arnold relationship is affirmed. So our intelligence has it that even though Oliver Lekie has been disappeared, most probably by the help of Paul Tasson, Yaoundé is still not satisfied because firepower still is returning. Barrister Tim, please.
Well, I think we draw very, very wrong conclusions for no reason. Paul Tasson was in charge of reconstruction, but that was not his main job. He's a deputy minister of the economy. He's still a cabinet minister. So just taking that portfolio from him has no meaning, as Mr. Ansel has said. What other art? But Ansel, they wanted to finance the war, but that was not what they really wanted. By and large, 90%. The whole program was meant to steal. They are thieves. And let me illustrate it to you. How many of us remember, it's not too long ago, in 2017, when this war was just starting, they organized a public fundraising to finance the war. People came in and gave cash. The country
it was
cash
not
to
tapped
2 million.
financing the war. It was tapped for relief. It was an Atangaji
Whatever I
relief
think was because of the war. They brought
Yeah.
in cash. We saw it. It was videotaped. People were sitting there about 2 million, 3 million. So
I remember
what happened to
people
the
get 50
money?
million.
What happened to that money? They stole it. And let me go down again. In 2017, very early, what did Atanganji do? Atanganji purported to go organize the clearing of grass in Secret Hand Mancon for 3 minutes. The people cutting grass there, some gendarmes. That was an orchestrated theft. You think these women to clear grass? No. You think those machetes they were using there were not bought? They were bought. There was a budget, probably 10 million or more. They went to somebody's house, store, rented those things for 2 seconds, stole the money. The whole idea is meant to steal. As Mr. Ansara said, and I'll repeat again, it doesn't matter to us who sits in that office. We have nothing against Paul Tasson. He, like any Paul Atanganji, what he's supposed to do, what he's saying is just the truth. He has to tell lies. He has to blame you for their own. Then, what is their objective? They are achieving their objective. They think that what we are doing now, reporting on what others are rejoicing, that is exactly what Yaoundé wants. He wants us to think that they're working so hard. They have dismissed this guy because he insulted people in Babanda. They have dismissed him because this. That is exactly what they want. What does that in the portfolio of Mr. Paul Tasson as deputy whatever thing minister, does that function of that office entitled them to go and construct the ring road or any other road in Cameroon? No. No. So this people say insulted us. What does that mean? If he didn't insult you, could you have constructed that road? No. So we're wasting our time over nonsense. It is a strategy which they are achieving by doing what we are doing now. You soon find people who come out to praise whoever has replaced him. Oh yeah, that's a better guy. Some will condemn him. That will take another 2 months, 1 year. So how does that help us? Paul Tesson again is still a cabinet minister. So that's not order his status or anything.
Yeah, but Staffu seemingly would like to react to that.
Yes, I want to say this. Several millions were raised for what they call reconstruction. Where is that money? If it was not meant to finance the war, where is it? It was a scheme developed by La Republique. I say it again, a massive scheme.
So to steal and to finance the war, because even in financing the war, they still steal.
Let me finish. They stole the money to finance the war, like my colleague just said. But the question now is, why were they doing reconstruction when the war was still on? The international community is not stupid. They deceived the international community that, oh, okay, the war is now over. We have to raise money to reconstruct the Northwest and Southwest. In fact, they said it at the time that the war was at its peak. And that money came in. I don't know why the people even contributed that money, knowing that the war was raging. But money came in. And where is the money now that Paul Tasson has been removed? And now they are putting a budget heading for 2023 as a new investment to reconstruct those parts of the Northwest and Southwest, according to them, that has been destroyed. My question is, why are we wasting our time talking about idiots like Paul Tasson, Atanganji, and the rest of it? They were being used. It was a strategy because La Republique was running out of money. They are broke, and they had to do everything to raise money by all means. Atanganji was running up and down, clearing grass in Sacred Heart and all that, like my colleague just said, to deceive the world that money, this is what the money is doing now. We are now clearing. We are now trying to bring back things to normal. It is a scheme, and that scheme has been, the money there has been used, and they have to close it down. And but they have to close it down to give the world the impression that they have sacked Paul Tasson. What has that got to do with us? They have sacked Paul Tasson. What was he even doing there? He raised the money and gave them to use for the war. When the time will come for reconstruction after this war, we will not wait for La Republique to give us money. We will drag them to whatever court in the world to pay for the destruction they have done to our country. And this whole scheme, let nobody mention it tomorrow that they did the construction in the north, in what they call the northern and south, which is Ambazonia. And that is exactly what they are trying to do. They are giving a false impression to the international community that that project is officially closed. The man who was managing it has been sacked, and so on and so forth. So what? The money, the people who get that money, they know how much they get, and they are expecting results. When the time will come, they will tell unless the people are as stupid as La Republique is, they will ask La Republique for accounting. You cannot finance a project and that project doesn't take off and is closed, and you don't know where the money you get went to.
Now, gentlemen, in every opinion of yours, it is evident that the project was a calculated scam. And it is the why behind the scam that I think is the purpose for this discussion. You just said, Barrister Fro, they are trying to manipulate the international community. But then again, the international community, in my opinion, could be conspiring to enable such projects, because based on international norms, reconstruction has a time. Barrister Tim agrees with me on this. And it will bring me to where I want us to drift this discussion to. It has to do with the international community, Cameroon's different ways of trying to communicate the wrong message. We have seen for several months an international community that has chosen not to update anything about the carnage in our homeland. In fact, I visited the UNHCR website just a few days ago. Nothing happens to change in an update of their reports. Human rights, Barrister Tim, you and I in 2019 had to work on human rights reports. I was even requesting some from you. Are there any updates? Why Cameroon is trying to tell people, okay, we can handle this as an internal matter. We are at a pace. We're not even fighting any war. We're reconstructing. The international community is not doing any good to us in terms of updating. Oh, the president said properly classify the ongoing war. So this part of the scheme, Barrister Tim.
Well, before I go to the international community, let me get one thing. Let us for a moment, just for a moment, for discussion only, give Yaoundé the credit of trying to reconstruct. And this message goes to their supporters in Ambazonia. Now, we don't even want to talk about that, but let us say they wanted to reconstruct. Two questions for them, for the believers in that nonsense. We all sat here almost a year or two ago and saw the Kumba General Hospital destroyed. Those who live in Kumba, have you seen a new word reconstructed there as a result of this war? Zero. We saw children killed in a particular school in Kumba. Have you seen a tin of paint just to paint the blood-stained walls in the name of reconstruction? The answer is no. We saw the hospital in Manfe brought down in flames because of this war. Have you seen a sheet of zinc to go and roof that hospital in the name of reconstruction? The answer is no. So what is this reconstruction that people are even believing it? Even the die-hard believers of the CPDM or SDF or any other political group in Cameroon there. So it's a manifested fraud. Then go to the international community. I've never agreed on this thing called international community, because international community is nothing. The international community is a matter of different countries and organizations. Let us go to different organizations or countries specifically and say, what are you doing? As we tried before, because we heard that this program was being sponsored by United Nations Development Agency, we challenged them. The United Nations Development Agency does not print money. Money comes from membership countries. So why are you doing this? We challenge them. Just the general name international community has no meaning. We go to different groups that are responsible for whatever is going on and say, what are you doing this? Like we try to go to the ICC to say, but people are dying. Why are you not acting? Why are you keeping quiet? They explained to us earlier, well, Cameroon is not a state party to the ICC. So there's nothing we can do until something is linked to it. So we have been trying to circumvent that. So just blaming the international community is blaming nobody. Because if you say international community, nobody takes it as his responsibility. You're also blaming France. They are part of the international community.
You would realize that I was specific in my observation. You remember the days when I used to trouble you because we needed to send petitions in human rights organization and you had to compile some of these reports.
Yes.
We had 2 years of a lot of compilation. That was 2017 into 2019. There was constant update because we took Yaoundé unawares. This generation, the never again generation, took Yaoundé unawares, and we updated the international community. In fact, internationalizing the struggle by giving daily updates, and it was being respected. It was verified. Yaoundé tried to manipulate it. They shut down the internet. It didn't work. Now the figures have literally frozen for close to 4 years now. The war is ongoing. So it is this calculation. The UNHCR at least has said in a document that they are not willing to register refugees again in Nigeria. In other words, they are telling the world they do not wish to update the humanitarian crisis because they don't. How do you get or seek for funding? So there is this idea, or there's this sense or will to even do that is kind of absent, which I think is important for us to observe in this discussion. Barrister Fru, please.
Yes.
Now let me just excuse me, Mr. Fu. Let me
Okay. Barrister Team, finishing, then let Barrister
just
Fu
excuse me a second,
continue.
Barrister Fu. You see, this is the problem. The international, what all those groups are founded by countries, and different countries pay contributions to that. A organization functions based on the limits of its own funds availability of funds. Just this week, I saw something happen in Nigeria, which I think we could exploit. The governor of the Cross River state of Nigeria was petitioning the UN
UNFCR.
to come to the assistance because of the refugees from Cameroon, which are overtaking their own economy. That's a different country. Those are the host country to our.
I'm even thinking that we should organize an interview with him. I already
That's what I'm
sent.
trying to
I
say.
already sent
So
a
if
letter to
this guy can say this, the Cross River state of Nigeria does not have access to the to the UN, but the federal government has. So if this guy has this pressure on him, and we used him to mobilize other states in Nigeria, they will push the federal government to do something to alert the international community that something is wrong somewhere. You and me can cry 24 hours a day. So go on. Sorry.
Listen, Paddy. Am I on?
Yes, you're on, please.
Yes. The international community is a loose word, which means, like Barrister Tima just said, means sometimes nothing. But let me say this. The UN is at the root cause of all what is happening to us. And they are doing everything to support La Republic to keep the status quo.
So, wait.
Okay.
Yeah, that's 3 hours.
Status quo. Okay? And unless the British and the United States, more especially the British, who were our colonial masters, so to speak, unless they come forward and say otherwise, the UN will not give us any listening ear, including the humanitarian catastrophe that is taking place in our territory. The UNHCR in Nigeria is an organ, a very important organ of the UN, and they receive their instructions from the UN. If they have been asked to pros the intake of refugees in Nigeria, it is intended to help La Republique. Until that changes, until the big powers, the United States and Great Britain, stand up and say, no, let's look at this, look what is happening in this part of Africa. And if these two are quiet, we will continue to suffer. Let me come back to this so-called reconstruction and the international community. The international community, those who get money are those who don't give a hoot about us to La Republique. They knew that that money was not going to reconstruct because the war was still on, but they get money. France and others get money in that so-called reconstruction. It was intended as an affront to us. We are virtually on our own unless the big powers, the United States, the European Union, and Great Britain come to our aid. We will continue to fight on our own. We should know that we are on our own because what is happening today is pathetic. Can you imagine that a country that I in particular believe in, Canada, is the one hosting rebels of this revolution to create a government behind our back? Fair and good.
I'm happy
Fair
you
and good.
fast forwarded. I'm happy you fast forwarded that part, because when you see me pushing on, that's where I'm heading. You know, you see, I want to take us to the next phase, which is what Amazonians have a lot of people have reacted to relatively. Um, Peter Thibault has always been vocal when it comes to our movement. Listening to the president on yesterday, Friday, during the APP workshop with all tiers of government, and you saw the president came out clear. I'm sure you all were there, expressing explicitly from call to call, level to level, what happened at the background until this date. Then also making a comment on Tibonach. Let me just read Tibonach's tweet on this issue so that we can kick this discussion. You have Mr. Thibault. This is what he has to say. He says, we complain about massive corruption in Africa, but must remember there is always also a corruptor. Okay, this has to do with Glencoe. It will be the last aspect of discussion, but let's get what is specifically relating to us. If Ethiopian government and the TPLF can come to an agreement that gives hope for Amazonians and Cameroon government doing same. Now, the example he has given, the agreement is something that's good, but us doing same is a concern. But then his second or preceding statement could suggest something that has provoked a lot of Amazonians to react. Thanks to Canada for trying where others have failed. Who has failed? What failed? How is it comparable to Canada? It's something I like to process with Mr. Thibault himself on platform. He said Amazonians need their rights. So you see, a lot of words are there in this. I would say these are 3 sentences with a lot of paradox. Barrister Team, may I start with you? Barrister Fru,
Yes,
perhaps you want to take the lead.
yes, yes. I beg. I want to say something about Tibonagi. Look, and this thing also applies to the former diplomat who is now a federalist. When they leave power, they become virtually dishonest in order to make money. Look, it is rather unfortunate for a man, a seasoned diplomat like Tibu Nagi, to compare Tigray in Ethiopia, which is part of Ethiopia. These are rebels inside Ethiopia to Ambazonia. Ambazonia it had nothing to do with Cameroon from the beginning until 1961. Ambazonia's independence was given with a clause of joining, and that joining did not work. How can Tibo Nagi compare Ambazonia to
Cameroon seceded from the joining by international
Cameroon?
law.
Listen, I'm still
Cameroon
coming now.
seceded in 1984.
Yes, in 1984, Cameroon officially seceded, and we were left in the cold. What were we supposed to do? Tibo Nagi is comparing a rebel group inside a country with us. Are we part of the Cameroon Republic? Were we part of Cameroon Republic? Were we? Tigray has no file in the United Nations, but we do have, because they gave us independence with a condition. And that condition failed. That condition was well spelled out in paragraph 5 of Resolution 1608, which failed. It was never implemented. Now, Tibu Nagi, in a dishonest manner, has to compare what has happened to Ethiopia and Tigray and what we are supposed to do with Cameroon. That is dishonesty. Secondly, I don't know what Tibu Nagi's agenda is. We have to be very careful because he is going the same way like the other diplomat who claim he negotiated the freedom of Eritrea, and now it's a non-federalist coaching the federalists in Cameroon. Or is it Ambazonia? Tibu Nagi has to choose his lane. If he thinks that Ambazonians have rights, like he clearly says, the right of Ambazonia is their sovereignty. They have to take back their sovereignty, because when they give you independence with condition, meaning that the condition is tied to your sovereignty, and if that doesn't work, you recover your sovereignty and actualize your independence. And that's what we are doing. For Tibu Nagi to compare us to a rebel group is just like comparing us to Biafra. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. And let me come to Canada. The
Now, before we
ambassador.
get to Canada, I'd like Barrister Mbeseha to react to that.
Well, I don't know how many times I will say it here. Tibo Nash worked in the State Department. And when you work in the State Department, you have limits to which you can go. You execute the policy of the State Department. That's what he did when he was there. When he leaves the State Department, like any other official, you go away. You cannot even do any work officially for 5 years, not even to lobby. So you are a freelancer. You can say what you like. He's not acting as a member of, an advisor of the State Department. No.
No.
He can say whatever thing he wishes. This is where we have been making the mistake all the time. And then, Tibo Nash, what is his goal? Like many of us, even Cameroon, even Ambazonia, we just want peace. If they woke up tomorrow, there's no more war, everybody is happy. War is over. So people were very happy even to go back to Yaoundé in the name of peace among ourselves. And so, what is the problem? If Tibo Nash can credit himself for what happened between Tigray and Ethiopia, so be it. If we can blame ourselves for not behaving like the Ethiopians and the Tigrayans, those who do that don't understand our problem. Tibu Nash, if he credits himself or anybody who did that, they forced the Ethiopians and the Tigrayans to come to the table and agree on something to keep Ethiopia together. That, as Mr. So says, that's an internal matter. What happened in Ethiopia, Obasanjo and the other guy, heads of state, were delegated to bring peace there, and they did it. That's okay. Can that be the same thing to us? No, never, never will it be. Because the African Union has dealt with this issue of Ambazonia independence before. In Resolution 26603, they dealt with it in paragraph 190 to 191. They said, yes, because they raised this issue of independence, 1961, plebiscite, they raised all that. The African Union Commission in Banjul said, look, those things that you are saying might be all true, but they came before the African Union, the OAU was formed in 1964. We cannot deal with matters that came before we were even born. And then they went further to say, look, the African Union was created to keep the territorial integrity of member states. Cameroon being one, article paragraph 190 to 191, they cannot take any decision that would encourage secession, disintegration of a member state. So can we go back to the African Union? No. The African Union doesn't, by its charter, have the provision for giving people independence. They don't have the power to give people independence or not. We can fight our way, and we're fighting our way. At the negotiation table, there will be witnesses to show that a new nation is being born in their continent. The African Union does not create nations. Nations are born, they apply for membership, and they get there. They don't create countries. So that is the mistake we are making all the time. African Union, which Table Nash is talking, is irrelevant as far as our matter is concerned. They have documented their decision in the 1608, 26603 in writing. It's there, written there in writing. And so how do you want them to do? You want them to come and fight for you? No. They can appoint a commission, a good office commission, who will try to negotiate peace between you and whoever is in Yaoundé. But they are not going to appoint a commission that will ask you to go away and assert your independence. You assert your independence, you defend it, they will become witnesses. And they say, okay, these people have finally gotten the independence. You are the 55 member or the 60 or the 40 member of our organization. That's how it happens. Why did they recognize the Spanish Sahara? Was it because Ethiopia, Morocco is accepted? No. The Sahrawi Republic of that place, they still have a seat now at the African Union. They have their seat there. So that is the issue. Thabo Nash is a private man. It's like our UN. He can say what he likes. He doesn't done by anybody. He cannot even go to bargain for us, to lobby for us. He's not allowed to do that by law in the United States. So let us leave him alone. Let him say what he wants. We waste our time blaming what is not important. Yeah, you can praise Ethiopia. You can praise Tigray. You can curse them. What does that mean? Absolutely nothing. Thank you. Over to you, Paddy.
Well,
Paddy?
yes, go ahead. Go right ahead. Go right ahead, Mr. Fu.
Listen, we know that Tibu Nagi is no longer in business. He can say what he wants. But when he puts out a tweet, some people take it for gospel truth. That's why we have to set the record straight. We must set the record straight. And secondly, I agree with my colleague that African Union is powerless to do anything for us. But we have African leaders. Obasanjo, Thabo Mbeki in South Africa single-handedly handled the peaceful the peaceful negotiations between the warring forces in Ivory Coast. What role has our neighbor, ex-president of Nigeria, Obasanjo? He leaves Black Africa and goes to North Africa, or almost to North Africa, that's Ethiopia, to negotiate peace. But he finds it very difficult to say anything concerning the conflict, the genocide, and the humanitarian catastrophe taking place on our territory. It's very disingenuous for
That's
any leader.
scandalous. It is interesting that you brought that up. That is
Yes,
scandalous.
it is scandalous and it is disingenuous for any African leader to think that he has any international personality. The presence of Obasanjo in Ethiopia is an affront to Black Africa because he has said nothing since this crisis began, and Nigeria through Buhari have been in complicity with Pobia to annihilate us. And that's why they are quiet about the refugees that are knocking at the doors, and the UNFCR has closed the door on the refugees. Like my colleague brought it up, the governor of River State has brought it to the limelight that they need help to take care of the refugees, and he addressed that to UNFCR. It is now public record, even though he has no right to speak for Nigeria, but he has a right because those refugees are in his state, and he has put it now in the public arena. But a statesman like Obasanjo will be parading himself as a statesman, and when he hears about what has happened in Ethiopia between two warring forces, like it happened in Nigeria, Biafra and Nigeria, he will run there so that he can get a name. But the conflict right behind his own house, behind his plantations, he is not saying that. He has said nothing. And we cannot rely on any African leader. This thing is dependent upon us. We will all die if that's what it takes. We cannot count on any African leader. All the African leaders around us, surrounding us, nobody has opened his mouth to say anything about the killings in Ambazonia, about the genocide taking place in Ambazonia, about the humanitarian catastrophes taking place in Ambazonia, about the refugees. Look, but we should leave this thing about African Union, because there's nobody in Africa to help us. If there's anybody to help us, it's in the Western world. If they want the Gulf of Guinea to burn, it will burn. Because we are the only ones that are capable of keeping of protecting the Gulf of Guinea, which is in our territory. La Republique has mortgaged all our resources in the Gulf of Guinea, and nobody is talking about it, because they are all eating from there. We will look, if it means burning Gulf of Guinea and all of us die there, we will do that. Until that happens, La Republique has no place in our territory.
Yeah, Barrister Tim, I know you wanted to react to that, please.
Yes, I wanted to say this as a reminder. Maybe most of us, or some of us don't know it. Anybody who has any hopes and mentions the name of Obasanjo, you must be deceiving yourselves. I wanted to remind ourselves that in 2002, Obasanjo was the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. In 2002, in a court case titled the suit number between Southern Cameroon and the Attorney General of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, an action was brought in Abuja to compare the federal government headed by Obasanjo to do, among other things, the following things. One, to table the issue of British Southern Cameroons before the United Nations General Assembly. Two, to table the same matter before the UN Security Council and other institutions of the United Nations, and most particularly the International Court of Justice. That was what the action was about. The federal government of Nigeria, under Obasanjo, they consented to do that. And by that consent, the federal court in Abuja entered a consent judgment that the federal government of Nigeria, has agreed to do the following things, which I've just mentioned there. That was under Obasanjo. Obasanjo served his term and left. He never took action on that matter. After him, there have been two other successive governments in Nigeria. They have not taken any action on the matter. And for those who don't know, that was a consent judgment. A consent judgment in a court is a judgment that you agree to do something. It cannot be appealed against. It is still binding on Nigeria. But what do we see? 2002 to today is 20 years. Instead of doing what they agreed to do, they are cooperating, catching our people and sending back to Cameroon. Just catching everybody. Will you imagine this thing that we call the Naira 10? Sisiku was living in Nigeria, he was living in Cameroon. Oretasang, Mr. Fongalan for Shufai and Yembe were from Cameroon. They blocked anybody who mentioned the name of Ambazonia, passed him to Cameroon. Those are the federal forces of the federal government of Nigeria. Be it under Buhari or Obasanjo, it's a federal government. The action is supposed to be continuous. So thinking that this guy will do something, I'm talking specifically about Nigeria. Whether it is Obasanjo, but we're dealing with Obasanjo. It's not today that Obasanjo knows about. He knows it. He's a Yoruba guy. This Niger Delta thing is Yoruba. We share the same oil with them. So for us even to think about them, we're wasting our time. Again, I've said here before, independence is fought. It's not giving. And we're fighting for independence. We will get it. We're not looking for the consent.
But Tim, talking about oil, we have Tibonach actually sending out another tweet that is quite concerning. Now we know where Cameroon's oil is coming. If you heard the recap news this evening, we were actually talking about the exploitation of Ndian, where Cameroon depends and nothing is happening. So Tibonach is saying, we complain about massive corruption in Africa, but must remember there is always also a corruptor, sometimes Western. Shameful story of Glencore flying private jets to disperse $28 million across Africa, including Cameroon and Nigeria. And this is quite concerning. You see, Cameroon and Nigeria, I would say these are oil powers in the Gulf of Guinea, which is one of the reasons you have perhaps the Biafran conflict and the Ambazonian War of Independence. So it's quite concerning. To some extent, Tibonach is proactively saying some of the things that we would expect a statement like him to say. What do you have to say?
Yes, I agree with that.
He said something, but sorry. Go on.
Oh.
Yeah, Barrister Fru, please.
Yes, I agree with that. And before I develop my thesis, I want to take you back to thanks Canada is succeeding where others failed. And that is a statement that I cannot allow it to fly. I want to ask
Tibonach, because we cannot. That is not possible. Yes.
Yes, I want to ask Table Nagy, who has failed and now Canada is succeeding? Canada is
That is
succeeding to do what?
comparable. Who has failed? At what level
Who
was
has
what
failed?
has failed is comparable to the Canada conference. That okay,
Yes.
let's consider for 1 minute, Barrister Pro, I'm not cutting you short. That he's talking about the Swiss-led mediation. But in the history of the Cameroons, there's never ever been anything like the Swiss-led mediation, where there was a platform created for both parties to come together as equals. That has never happened.
It never
So is
happened.
it
So
that he's
nobody,
ignorant? Yeah. Is it ignorant or
nobody,
conscious? Go ahead,
nobody,
please.
nobody has failed where Canada has succeeded. What does he mean by that? And he is going the same way as the other federalists. Because everybody who is going to Canada is not, most people going to Canada don't have independence of the Southern Cameroons and Bazonia at heart. They are going there to discuss the form of state, i.e., federalism or whatever, in the same arrangement like Quebec is to Canada. From what I'm reading, but when Triple Nagy, a renowned diplomat, can sit down and say Canada is succeeding where others failed, I want him to tell us who are those who failed. If he's not dishonest,
Barrister
he
Tim, you
should
want
tell
to
us.
react to that before we get into the Glencoe story?
Yes, let me say this. Again, I think based on what you and me know, and I want to believe what the president told us. The president told us the man who contacted him, he asked, what's your role as Canada? And Canada said they are not involved in anything. They asked us to try to facilitate a meeting. We are not there as Canada. So Thibault Nash might be saying something that he doesn't understand these facts. Those of us who live in the United States, Canada is very much like the United States. I can organize a meeting right now in a hotel here as long as I have the money to pay. The federal government will not prevent me from doing that. Not even the state government. So I don't think Canada has succeeded in anything because as far as we know, Canada, when we say Canada, we're not talking about the geography of Canada. We're talking about the government of Canada. The government of Canada, whatever went on is going on or is going on in Canada. The federal government of Canada is not involved. It's not involved. So I don't think Canada has succeeded in anything. Just name Canada because they had a meeting. What of the CDN? They had in Toronto, in Canada. Was Canada involved in that CDN? No. Could it
This is
prevent them
something
from
that is
holding a meeting
concerning.
in a hotel in Toronto or in Ottawa or anywhere? No. Canada is very much a liberal country, even in Kingdom, in Britain, in UK. As long as you have money to pay a hotel, you can hold your meeting there. We hold credits in hotels. As long as you have money, you pay them, you want 100 people to come to a hotel and celebrate your
You see,
mother's
by
death,
stuff,
they will take the money.
by stuff,
Yes,
say
yes.
I like the way you always simplify these things. But there's something concerning about we cannot just discard the word Canada and why Cameroon was insisting on the word Canada. You realize that Canada might be making any utterances now, dissociating themselves as being, or actually, but they had a high government official who is an envoy into the Cameroons. That's the high commissioner or the ambassador, being the one
The
calling
diplomat.
President Sako and coercing him into this discussion. Isn't that concerning to you,
No, it's not concerning at all. This
Barrister
is
Pro?
why. This is why it's
No,
not
no, no.
concerning.
It is concerning
From
me.
the very report that we have from Mr. President, he said they told him, the guy who called him to look, we even tried to talk to America. America said, well, we're not interested to facilitate that nonsense. They talked to Britain, they talked to everybody. So that should not make us implicate the Canadian government because officially we know nothing. The day they get involved officially, we'll have to say something about it. I don't even know when he said they succeeded. I don't know based on what. What is the outcome of the so-called Canada, which you can call success? I hope we're coming to that. I want to address that. But so far, just meeting there, like CDN met, only other person met. We went to Berlin. We went to Berlin and had a meeting there about Amazonia. Was the German government involved? They were not. But that's where we developed. It is Berlin that gave us what we have now, the structure, the APP, and all what we have. We conceived it in Berlin. Berlin is not in Amazonia, it is in Germany. Can the Republican government say, well, because they had this thing in Germany, you are supporting Amazonians? We'll hire a hotel there, I think there. What's the big deal there? I hope we're coming to address the so-called Canada because I have much more to say about it. Continue, sir.
In Canada, and they are holding
Now, Barrister Fro might have a contrary opinion to that. Please, Barrister Fro, go ahead.
Yes, I am saying that Tibu Nagy takes the meetings in Canada as a success because they fall in his own agenda, what he actually wants. Right when he was in the State Department, he was for keeping one Cameroon in a federal system. Now that they held a meeting in Toronto for CDN, they've held one in Ottawa now. They are going to hold a third one, all in Canada. For Tibu Nagy, that is the right direction for him. Therefore, Canada has succeeded even before they started. That is the way I look at it. Because if he doesn't look at it that way, let him tell us which other peace process or negotiated settlement failed and Canada is succeeding without anybody knowing what Canada has done to succeed. If not for holding meetings of rebels that don't want the independence of the Southern Cameroon, Amazonia. That is the only way I see it. Now, can we transit now to the Glencore case? I said yes. There, Tibu Nagy is right. They talk of corruption in Africa. They blame Africa for all the corruption in the world. They think that the most corrupt countries are in Africa, and yet they forget that the Western world are those encouraging corruption on the African continent. The Glencore case is is an illustrative example of the corrupt Western world. Since that thing has happened, what has happened to Glencore? Glencore is an American company, if I'm not mistaken. They are supposed to be submitted to the American anti-corruption fight across the world. An American company cannot openly be corrupt in any part of Africa or anywhere in the world, and America would allow it to stand. What has America done so far? If it does not, it is to their interest that the oil business is coming to them. That is why everybody is quiet. So far, what has happened to the corrupt Glencore company that did what they did? And Africa lost $28 million just like that. So on that score, I think I agree with Tibu Nagy that when they talk of corruption, they should include the Western world. Because they are the ones encouraging corruption on the African continent. And America has refused to apply its laws to Glencore because up to now, unless you have another information, Paddy, nothing has happened to Glencore so far.
We'll be developing the Glencore story on Monday. But now, Barrister Tim, there's an aspect before I even step into this Glencore. The president told us yesterday that even after he denied participating in the Canada conference, he was told that, okay, if you cannot participate, when they are done with the conference, you can have a one-on-one meeting to us. Don't you think that justifies the thought pattern of Barrister Fru? Well, meaning the desperation to have
Look,
uh, yeah.
I understand what you're saying, but this might take about those things. Nobody, there's no free lunch for anybody. If La Republique, China, Ukraine, or anybody appoints you to do that type of job, it's for a pay, for a salary, for something. There's something in return for what they are doing. So the most important thing the homework would take is someone tried to persuade the president, and the president said, "No, I'm not coming," and prevailed. He didn't just end it there with him, it was put out in writing, we're not coming there. That closes the chapter for that nonsense. We can go back to it, I'm sure we're going back to it. But let me just deal with the Glencore. You see, what we know about Glencore, the corruption that happened, it's not Cameroon that investigated, it's not somebody in Africa. This testimony was given in the United States in a group in charge of investigating fraud by American companies. That's how the information came out. It is documented in the American records that these people did what they confessed to doing because they were under investigation by the American company, by the American government. So is America doing something? Yes. I don't know what sanctions will follow, but all what we know about Glencore came from the United States investigation of their activities, not the Cameroon. In fact, the Cameroonian people have even thrown away the file because they don't want it to be mentioned. But therefore, it is not right to say that the Americans are doing nothing. We knew what happened with Glencore because the Americans investigated. But that does not negate what the Wonas says. There's corruption in the international community. And as far as the international community, the stronger party when they come to business is the West. And so when they come to Africa or somewhere underdeveloped, they want to switch, they want to scratch out even the little water and the blood that you have in your body. Let us not forget, all this West, be it the Americans, the British, the French, they are capitalists. They are capitalists. So they want to extort everything out of you and leave you bleeding to death. That's the basis on the of the agreement the France signed with all its colonies in Africa to extort them from whatever thing they have. So there's no doubt that there's corruption. Because if you didn't offer the bribe, the receiver will not take. So that is not in doubt. What to do with the man who is offering the bribe is the issue. You and me are crying. Do you have the power to force Greencore or any other company, Shell, whoever? Mr. Chumfu was going to Nigeria. Look at the Niger Delta with Texaco or whatever thing was there. These are all foreign companies. They destroyed the whole of that delta, the lives of people. What can the Nigerians do other than protesting, making noise and running away into the witch houses and looking for Ngambe? So, do we have the strength and the will to hold these people accountable? 90% African countries don't have, because the leadership in Africa, be it in Cameroon, in Nigeria, or anywhere, is also double corrupt. They are so corrupt. When I was young, I had a senior brother who is not dead. He used to deal with apartheid. And he said, look, there was something very positive with apartheid. Apartheid was enforced by the Dutch. They exploited the gold in South Africa. They exploited all the minerals. But one good thing they did was, they did not sell the gold and take the money to Holland. It was kept in South Africa, in some banks there.
How true is that?
Well, I said
Is it
that
because they
was the
wanted to
impression
make South
because,
Africa a domicile?
yeah, because that's why I was on to learn that even today, in terms of infrastructure development in Africa, South Africa is still one of the best. Because the people, at least, they did that, but they kept some of the money, they invested there. Unlike Cameroon, they still people don't even put the money in the bank. They fill a whole house with cash. So how does that benefit us? So anyway, what I'm trying to say, bottom line is that there's corruption there. And it's worse even in Africa because they still not to invest. They still even to waste. What do you do with a house full of money? How much money can you use? At least if the money is put in the bank, somebody will
There
go
is
there and
an
take a loan and
interesting
pay interest.
question actually There's an interesting question actually coming here from a home front number. He always sends in questions. It's not directly related to actually our topic, so I'll maybe just leave it as we're concluding now. Now, talking about Glencore and the glaring corruption that has been vocalized by Thibault, don't we think that that is some form of a surface level of the actual corruption that's taking place, especially in the Cameroons and in Nigeria? Because we're talking about a company that's just doing exploration. What about the Franco-Cameroon hegemony itself, which in Ambazonia is their focus, is it, and they are the ones managing it. So Glencore is just there as a business. That's something we will have to look at it. When will diplomats be bold enough to come out straightforwardly and say, okay, France, you can't be taking this percentage from there. Whatever treaty you sign,
Yeah.
you know, we're just thinking one shot.
Yeah, Paddy.
Well,
Yeah, Mr. Fru, please.
Yes. I want to state here clearly that Cameroon has no oil. Cameroon is stealing from the southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. I don't know whether we understand each other. Cameroon is stealing the oil from the southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. And because Cameroon is working tirelessly with the so-called international community partners that are enjoying what they are doing, the booty of the stealing, nobody wants to come to our aid until we take back that oil. How we will do to take that oil, like I said before, we will have to burn before the Gulf of Guinea for the world to see us as owners of the Gulf of Guinea. Having said that, to come to your question, Paddy, these diplomats will not do anything that their government does not want them to do. Everything is economic interest. You can steal as much as you want, as long as you have a buyer. In law, the man who steals and the man who buys are prosecuted under the same. But since we are insignificant to the international community, the La Republic and those who are buying cannot to bring it to the limelight so that the world can prosecute them. That's why you see all the diplomats are quiet and nobody will raise a finger. Even in this Glencore case, which other country have you seen say anything bad about it? Nothing. Because everybody is benefiting from the booty that La Republic is putting out there, and they are stealing our oil and making business with it, selling it, and getting money to finance this war. That is what they are doing. And until we find a way to burn the Gulf of Guinea, to burn all these
I like the way you talk, Barrister Fro, until we find a way to burn down the Gulf of Guinea. I hope our defense officers are taking note of this. Burn down the Gulf of Guinea. We need to factor out a way of bringing it down.
Because nobody is taking us serious. Nobody. Even the United States, everybody is quiet.
To take us seriously, Barrister Fro, we need to escalate
burn down the Gulf
our
of Guinea.
I wish Francis Chinye was here to be us.
We need to
but
burn
this
down
is
it.
The way Barrister Tim was laughing shows that he may want to contribute to this whole aspect before he gets into that burning down.
Because your question suggested that the Americans will not understand. When they say there's an American ambassador in Yaoundé, French ambassador, Japanese ambassador, they tell you the countries say they establish embassies because they have an interest. Do you find that interest in the Batibo or some villages? No. If there's an American ambassador in Yaoundé, he's protecting American interests. American interest, for example, includes the exploitation of whatever thing contracts given to Glencore, because Glencore is an American company. The embassy does not negotiate the contracts. Now, when you negotiate a contract with a foreign company on the best terms that they are, the embassy is there to be sure that it's implemented. They are not there to say, look, you're stealing from these people. That's not their job. So I hope Ambazonians are learning that going forward, when we get an Ambazonia, we're not going to go and take diggers and dig the oil ourselves. We're going to give it to somebody to dig because we don't have the expertise. But we must be able to do those things on the best terms which are allowed. If we don't have the personnel, we have the ability to hire the proper personnel.
The education you are giving now, barrister team, reminds me of this individual who supposedly featured in the UK, in London, for an oil deal in 2018 on behalf of Amazonia. It was quite concerning.
Yes. I was trying to say that 10, 15, 20 years ago, there was something they called the World Trade Organization. This was countries, organizations brought in all countries to deal with the world trade. And they held a meeting, was in Beijing somewhere, with all trade ministers around the world present. It was video. I saw the African delegates, they're sleeping. They didn't even understand what they were talking about, but they were dosing. Take that apart. We're dealing with security. Suppose you call an international conference on security. And Mr. Belinga, Martin Belinga, 94 years old, goes to represent Cameroon. What do you expect from this OPA, to be fair to him? That is not what we are supposed to do. And then before we end, we're going to end. I said that we had something to say about this so-called Canada. The IG did not go to Canada. And so we don't expect to know what happened in Canada because we did not participate. We don't know those who participated. But at the very least, we have one. I've seen a video produced by Capo Daniel
Okay,
in which he says he was there.
Barrister. Let me interject there so that you will not talk and keep half since we're concluding this talk.
Yes.
Capo Ngong Daniel proudly makes a video to assure Ambazonians of their participation and support of whatever took place in Canada. And what he failed to understand is that singular act tells Ambazonians once more who really they are.
Yeah.
These were the same individuals who have said times, in fact, they sabotaged. They created the name Swiss cheese. They sabotaged the Swiss-led process. And I'm yet to comprehend how that Joe Ayaba the other day denied after he participated in the in CDN1, and then when the public had reacted, he denied. Only for him to all of a sudden, few hours later on, a few days now, in CDN2, sending his spokesman, because Capo Daniel started by saying he's spokesman of ADF and AGOFC. That is a statement of fact. So talk all along those lines, and then Barrister Fru will react.
Now, what I was trying to say is this: all what we know, if we can ever believe in Capo Daniel, is what he admits. He was there to represent AGOFC. He's now giving a report of what happened there. Let us take everything he says to be true of what happened there. What does he report? He reports that this meeting was CDN organized. It was a CDN meeting. If we can believe him, that issue is answered. Then he goes further to say what they decided there. That's what I laugh and said that why are we worrying ourselves? If his report is true, what did they decide? They decided to talk about how we will cooperate on the ground, how we will help our refugees. It did not say how they were going to end the war. If that is a report coming from Canada, and if that report is true, is that even the thing for us to worry ourselves? Don't we even say kudos to ourselves for not participating in that nonsense? Will we blame even Canada, Japan, whoever country went there and paid them the money? What did they decide if that is the truth? Is that a thing to worry us at all? Did they not agree to end the war? At least by that his report. They did not even agree to ask for their federation, at least by that report. Neither did they even go to support their so-called Grand National Dialogue, at least by that report. So what is our concern for a meeting that, based on that report, totally failed? It failed. If the Capo Daniel story is true, it failed. And I have reason to believe him because he said that he was there. Olemba Akuru was not there and he's giving a report of the thing that he never saw. So that, to me, is not our. Last night, a few days ago, I had somebody from the CDN who was protesting that they didn't go there. I simply forwarded him what Capo Daniel said. I said, this Capo Daniel saying here, it is not me saying it. You, Capo Daniel, the ADF, the what do you call it, the AGOFC was in Toronto last year, a year ago. So they are not new to the CDN. They are their partners. And if they come to a meeting and say that you were the coordinators, you were the initiators of the meeting, why do you doubt him? Yes, you might not have gone there. CDN is not one man. There are hundreds of people in the CDN. You might have sent people there to organize it without you. Does that mean that there's no CDN? No, they were there. So again, my bottom line is, if this is what happened, I think the whole nonsense was a failure, not worth even for us to be wasting our time here. It was fraudulent. It was a failure based on the report coming from Capo Daniel, who participated. Thank you.
Yeah, Barrister Fru, please.
Yes, I agree 100% with what my senior colleague has been saying. But let me also say this. I have a document written by Professor Chris W.J. Roberts, a professor of African politics and international law.
His write-up is very irritating because it's very manipulative.
It's very irritating. But let me read one sentence that seems to give me the objective of what they are struggling to do in Canada. It may not be what it is, but let me just read it and you hear. The best permanent solution to the Anglophone crisis would be a transparent, inclusive, negotiated peace process leading to a free and fair, internationally supervised referendum that include a clear question on institutional arrangements, including independence. That is a Canadian professor writing. He is well aware of what is happening in Canada. And he published this Pathway to Peace in Cameroon, 10 critical observations for the international community. He published that around this time when those meetings were taking place. And I want to say that La Republique has one agenda: to keep Ambazonia in one Cameroon and to try to bring some kind of autonomy like it exists in Quebec. Not quite, but somewhere along those lines, but tying it to the presidency of La Republique du Cameroon. And this professor has carefully worded this whole thing. This document is very manipulative. He has written, everything he wrote there was, even though he blamed La Republique for lies and selling lies and whatever to the international community, he also blames us for causing atrocities and so on and so forth. He has not mentioned anything about the interim government. This whole thing is manipulative, but this statement here indicates, grosso modo, the objective of these several meetings in Canada. Don't mind him using the word independence. It's just to make sure that nobody is uncomfortable with reading his document. That is the objective. Whether they are meeting that objective, according to my colleague and I, they have failed. The first meeting failed, and the one that is going to start on the 19th of this month is going to equally fail. And the only way for us to make sure that we follow it through is with firepower on the ground. And I tell you, Paddy, I'm not saying this. I'm not a military man. I don't want to talk about military strategy, but I'm saying that if the Gulf of Guinea does not burn in the eyes of the international community, they will not take us serious. We have to find a way.
You see, it is now clear that the EAGOV-C and ADF are now actually advocating for one Cameroon agenda. I wouldn't want us to belabor too much on that. We've seen the actions on the ground. We've seen the actions on the ground.
But that is a wrong statement. It is clear because they are a proxy to La République du Cameroon. They have never fought against La République du Cameroon. They are fighting alongside La République du Cameroon. So this agenda includes the EAGOV-C. They are the movers and shakers of this whole thing in CDN.
I'm speaking in confirmation. I'm speaking in agreement with you that they are already officially involved in the One Cameroon agenda, even from their observation of the ongoing conference or chain of conferences that's being organized. And this is a question which I want us to conclude. It's coming from the home front. It's, what have we done to contact the new British administration, in particular the new king and the new prime minister? Well, I'm not sure if anybody on this panel can answer that question, but perhaps you may want to say something that will help our people keep their calm. If there's any need for us to contact, should we create that kind of friendship? Should the IG proactively make such communications and contact? What did the IG do? What has the IG done prior to this time, prior to the disappearance of the Queen? What did we make of it? What will we make of it in a long and short term if we make such contact? Just talk on that as we conclude, please. Barrister T.
I want to assure our people that diplomacy is quiet. Diplomacy
that is agreed. But then that's agreed. But then I'll come back to you, Barrister Fru. I agree with that. Okay.
Let me finish. Diplomacy is quiet, and we have been working quietly with all the stakeholders, including Britain. That's all I can say.
Okay, but Barrister Fru, the quietness and the quietly we have been working with Britain, what fruit has it?
No. I said we are working quietly with the stakeholders. And those stakeholders include Britain. I did not say that we are working specifically with Britain. I'm saying that we're working with the stakeholders. Anything that happens, any position that the United States, the British will follow.
Oh, yeah, 3,000.
That's all.
That's why I'm coming in here. No, then there's
So
no.
it would appear Barrister Fru has been disconnected.
Yes. What were you saying? Now this is the point. See, is it? Can I talk?
What I said, Paddy?
Yes, I heard you very loud and clear. Please, Barrister Bisea, go
Well,
ahead.
in addition to what he said, say the British, let that caller understand this. If anything is going on here, it is not because the British don't understand. I remember not long ago, we saw a video from the British Parliament, House of Commons, matter being raised there. It's not because the Queen don't know, the King don't know, they know those things. What they lack is the political will to take the bull by the horns. Are they going to do it? I believe so. Do I know when and how? I don't know. Those in the diplomatic circle, but the guy asking the question should rest assured that the IG is leaving no stone unturned. And then back to this issue of Canada again. My focus as an individual talking is not on Choyaba. It's not on Akwanga. It's not even on Akuro. It's not even on Anu. No, that's not where the issue is. My focus is on La Republique. All of us are already grown up here and married. If your wife got pregnant and was having a difficult delivery, you took her from one maternity to the other, to 3, 4, 5 maternities. The chances that your wife might die are very high. And let me bring it back now to Cameroon and Ambazonia. If we were thanks to Cho Ayaba, the Grand National Dialogue would have succeeded. If we were thanks to talking to people who are told by Akwanga, nobody else Akwanga, he negotiated this thing in Ghana. It did not work. So if the Republic, after negotiating from day one, they went to Bermuda to negotiate with Tassan and the rest, said we don't want Boya there. It did not succeed. They brought them together. It did not succeed. None of this initiative was taken by us. It's taken by Yaoundé. Why? Because their wife is having a difficult delivery. And until they have that delivery successfully done, the wife will die in labor. And the wife will die with the mother. And that takes me to Mr. Wilbur. Cameroon will never be Cameroon aided. They will die with Ambazonia. So let us not be worried. The fact that they are shopping around the east-west, they are going to Canada, they are accepting Swiss and abandoning it, shows the degree to which they are infected. They are not doing that because Choyaba, Apanga, anybody is asking them. It is hurting them. So rest assured, we are doing the right thing. This child will deliver and deliver successfully. But the pain is on the mother. Until they do something to cover that child, the mother will die with the child. So let's put our home base assured. We know in the village that if you have a wife again who gets pregnant, normally a woman gets pregnant for 9 months. If the pregnancies go beyond 9 months, 10 months, sometimes for 2 years, we need to wonder what's going on with your wife. But she will deliver. So, ladies and gentlemen, brothers, comrades, don't be worried. Britain can stonewall. Again, I've always said this. We're not asking for Britain to give us independence. We're trying to make them facilitate that thing. We are fighting for independence, and we will get it through the fight. Whether the Gulf of Guinea burns into fire or turns into a storm, we are getting what we want to get. Just be confident.
Yes,
Thank you.
Yes, your last statement, Barrister Fu.
Yes, we are not fighting for independence. We're fighting for sovereignty. We had independence. We're fighting for our sovereignty and for La Republic
For
to leave our
recognition.
territory. That's recognition, and for La Republic to leave our territory. There is no country in the world that has independence twice. Why should we? And we are not asking La Republic to give us anything. All we want is leave our territory, pack and go. And recognition from the international community, that's a loose word, from countries in the world that voted for that independence to recognize our sovereignty and let us be. That's all we're asking for. Is that too difficult for the world to understand?
That's
We have lost 40,000 people and counting. And counting. And the world still cannot understand that they gave us independence with a condition on paragraph 5 of resolution 1608, which was never respected, and therefore that independence was actualized in 2017, and we want our sovereignty by receiving recognition from the rest of the world, especially those who voted for us to have that independence. Why is the world not watching, only watching for La Republique to annihilate a whole population of 8 million people? Why is the world quiet? And they themselves, the world is saying that it's an unreported conflict. Why?
Yeah, they themselves are saying it.
Because of the complicity of the world, they are taking our oil from the thief that is stealing it. They are eating fat on what belongs to us, and nobody wants to talk. I think they will have to talk
Yeah.
the hard way by us burning down the Gulf of Guinea. We cannot continue. We must find a way. I don't
Yes,
know how.
thank you very much, Barrister. You have belabored that point, and it is very clear that the energy has been passed. Barrister team, I just want to say good night to both of you, and that I like your outfit, Barrister team. Perhaps you want to consider that. I get one of it. I'll be glad. Thank you very much,
It
gentlemen.
looks like
Hopefully, prime time on
it looks like
Monday.
a Chang outfit. It looks like a Chang outfit.
Now,
No, you know, he's the man
a
from
few months ago,
Webernet.
a
He's
few
the man
months
from
ago, somebody
Webernet. The people of Webernet dressed like
no,
that or something. He's from
a few months ago, someone
API.
in this saw me and thought I was Gojidinka. In fact, he said, "Are you Gojidinka?" The guy thought I
So
was
that's a
Gojidinka.
nice outfit. Okay,
So
fellow
thank you very
Amazonians,
much.
ladies and gentlemen, I hope to have these legal minds again, prime time on Monday. And you realize we have just crashed into this discussion. As we develop, we're going to research the updates of the Glencore story and why Tibonach is talking. It is of great interest for us because that is why our people are being killed and burnt down on a daily basis. So we will investigate the news as it is. We're also going to look into the developing stories on the Tassons and why Cameroon is making the decision they are making when it comes to the issues relating to Port Tasson. So Monday, there's a lot for us to talk about. And there are some updates that we hope would have arrived fruition. And so that Monday we will discuss them. That's before the news hour. That notwithstanding, I want to say thank you, Barrister Team and Barrister Besea, for proactively creating the time and ensuring that we have this discussion. Amazonians, have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.